Blending is an ongoing process. Trying to own what the flavor profile is. That's an ongoing thing. So by the time I've sampled all the barrels, well, it's a new season and the stuff started to evolve a little bit. Okay, how did it evolve? And if I mix this barrel with that barrel, is that the direction I want to go with this batch versus that batch? I try to be methodical in that process. Each of our batches take anywhere between 1 to 3 months to pull together, and that's intentional because once these barrels are dumped, I want to ensure that each of the barrels are marrying together the flavor profile like I'd hoped. And as I drive the proof down from 118 down to 93 proof, which is what our small batches are, that the flavor components are coming together like I hoped they would. The way you drive down the proof in alcohol is adding water. And so we do a reverse osmosis water treatment here, and we slowly drive the proof of the spirit and of the batch down. Good whiskey, some things just take time, and we'll cut it down slowly. And by cutting it down slowly, it also allows for me to consistently sample to make sure that it's developing the way that I want it to. So once we get to 93 proof, we do a final filtration. It's very simple, nothing fancy here. Just a simple filtration where we get the last small particles and sediments that might have been left in the tank right before we bottle it. The more you filter, the more you're filtering things out, flavor components out. And I didn't want to strip that out of the whiskey. The judgment day for me is when the batch is released. So I trust my palate, but judgment day really is when the batches roll out and then I get the customer feedback. Batch 1, for example, I had no idea if anybody was even going to like it, but I know that taste is subjective and not everybody's gonna like what we do. I wanted to showcase how I can take 2 rye-based bourbons, meaning corn, malted barley, and rye in the mash bill, and marry it with a wheated-based bourbon, which was corn, malted barley, and wheat that aged in a milder climate in the West. But being able to marry those 3 together and have the wheat bourbon balance with the rye bourbon. The blending process took quite a while to get it right. And then from there, move on to batch 2, do a bit more rye forward, a bit more spice forward. What I learned in the process there was the local community seemed to like batch 2 a little bit more than batch 1. Those that really like bourbon, the majority of the mash bills out there are rye-based bourbon. I'd say 9+ out of 10 are rye-based bourbon. So when they're trying something new, Old Raleigh, and yes, we're a blend of these different types of bourbon or mash bills, they are trying to identify what connects with the palate they're used to. And that's a rye-based bourbon. Moving forward, each of our batches was very much rye-based, but it had different nuances to it, whether it's the finish, the front end, or the nose, or whatever it may be. It's a learning process on both sides. And there's a true art in that, and being able to share that with some of our members who go behind the scenes and dump barrels with us, and let them try a barrel proof in the tank, and then also let them see after the fact how that flavor profile has evolved as we blend it, as the proof goes down lower and lower, and what elements pop and begin to pop that weren't originally there when it was 118 proof. So yeah, that's judgment day for me.